Hello everyone, Endrem here, and we are back with Axis and Allies. Man, has it been a long time since I've looked at this board. It was set up here and it's starting to collect dust. It's not pretty. But I redusted it and now it looks nice. So, continuing with what we got going on over here, I have a lot of requests saying, like, what's the setup that I have going on here? Now, because of the massive scale that this map is, and just how many nations are involved, this setup would most likely take two parts, and I'm not going to do that. But instead, I'm going to tell you or explain to you guys how I set this up so that you guys can do pretty much the same thing. Now, to begin with, how I set this up took multiple versions of this game, as well as I just made it up with a few tweaks, like all the add-on nations like South America, Turkey / the Middle East, Vietnam, Korea, Austria. All those ones were just straight up made up. Oh, and Spain. First thing that you guys will probably need, if you're really picky. Now, if you're really a picky person and you want this exact setup, or at least as close as you can, these are the games that you will need. Obviously, you're going to need 1940 Second Edition Europe and Pacific for obvious reasons. You are going to need 1914, minus that blur, 1914 and 1942. Spring, the world is at war. As well, this is more kind of optional, but I also incorporated some pieces from this old Risk game. This is actually the first strategy game I actually ever got, and I played the crap out of it. So now that we know what games I used to make this map possible, now I'm going to explain to you guys my thought process on how I set it up. So now, regarding the nations such as America, France, Britain, Germany, Italy, Russia, the Pacific Brits, the Australia, somewhat China, Japan, and Pacific America. So all the normal nations that come with the 1940 Second Edition game are set up for the most part pretty normally. America is exactly how it should be. France is how it should be. Italy is, if I recall, I might have nerfed a couple of things, but it looks pretty accurate to what it normally is. Germany, however, has been nerfed quite a few. Obviously, as you can see here, there's a lot less chips under them, as well as they lost Slovakia, Hungary, and Romania to give room for the Austrians. And then, let's see. Oh, Russia got buffed a bit, especially on this side, as you can see here. As well as I gave them infantry over here. Now, the infantry over here was completely made up. This is in regards to no reference or actual setup. I just set it up this way so that we can do so much more involving Russia doing this. More so when like a World War III possibility shows up. Japan has been nerfed a little bit, Navy side, but everything on land should be the same. And of course, they do not occupy any of these islands. Australia is exactly the same. Hawaii and Western United States are exactly the same. And the West India and down there started out as the same, but as you can see, Sam returned for spring break, so we did a campaign involving the Vietnam War. That'll be posted very shortly. The chip counter for each of these nations are as so. Now this is Vietnam. They actually started out with 5. So this star goes right there. Now I'm just going to do a quick little overview. That should actually be flipped since it's not the Nazi occupation. All right, so now let's take a look at the made-up nations, starting with South America. And you see here, not too big and yet not too small either. So South America is able to like capture a few territories, but they're not like a major world power or anything. Same thing goes with Spain, very small, but they have potential to do bigger things. The Middle East, on the other hand, is probably one of the big ones over here. You can see a lot of it is resolved around how I set the Ottoman Empire up for the World War I scenario. Alright, now Vietnam was right here in French Indochina. Just that one territory, and all they had were 5 infantry, 2 artillery, 1 tank, and 1 transport. Very small, but I'll get on to the rules of how we did one territory nations after all of this stuff. And then China was obviously buffed, but overall is the same setup. But obviously I incorporated some planes, tanks, artillery in certain areas, especially the areas where they had like cities like here Shanghai, Hong Kong had a little buff. Then we have Korea right here. And then that should be all of them. Yeah, I think we covered every single nation. So now that that's all taken care of, we're going to explain a couple of additional rules that we made so that, we can do a lot more fun things with this. And the first one I would like to point out is oil. We have an oil chip right here. And when Sam was over here, we kind of talked about this and how it should work. And I think we made a pretty solid point. Now, let's see, what's a good example? Let's see a small one. All right, let's look over here because that's where we're focusing on at the moment. So Britain is here, Vietnam is here. There's an oil chip here, here, and China has one here and there. Now, oil is worth something because it kind of has to, otherwise it's null and void and it doesn't mean anything. Oil chip is $0.50. So if we come over here to the mobilization zone, the cost, the oil will only apply to stuff like artillery, mechanized infantry, tanks, AAAs, all fighter units, all C units, because, oil helps everything here run. So just common sense. Mechanized infantry because of the trucks. So now that we know what the oil applies to, let's do an example. Now I said that oil is $0.50. That means artillery, you only have half of it, so it does not count. You need you need to own 2 oil chips in order to get this bonus. So 2 or more, let's say. Because if one oil chip is a half, you need to own the other to make it a whole dollar. So since over here, the British own the one in West Indies and one in Siam, they get a bonus. So instead of artillery being 4, that would be a 3 instead. You kind of get what I'm saying? So the oil reduces the amount of cost for certain pieces. But for balancing reasons, you need to own multiple oil chips in even numbers in order for them to really apply to that. Leave a comment down below if you have any other suggestions for that, but that is overall how that's going to work. And now the next part is going to be single territory nations, which these only apply to Vietnam and Korea. So since Vietnam is out, we are going to do this example in Korea. Alright, so Korea is right here. Obviously you can see they're one territory. They have a couple of sea zones. Now how I'm going to do this is that right here and right here is going to be like a land boundary. So Korea owns this part, Japan owns this part. if any of you guys are wondering what's going on there. Alright, so how one territory nations will work is that these will only apply when the nation is being under attack. So say, for example, that the Chinese here are attacking, roll up my sleeve so I don't knock over any chips. China's attacking Korea here. Now normally you would take out all of these units and take the country. You are doing that, but there's going to be a slight difference. Battles with one territory nations is going to be applying the World War I rules, in which that per round you can only do combat once, and then the units just stay there. So China's turn, they attacked, they roll once, Korea rolls once to defend, over until Korea's turn. This rule makes a little bit more sense if you have the 1914 version, but that's about as best as I can explain it. So now let's say all of these units are dead. China would normally take Korea, but I added another thing that the attackers have to get through in order to claim full victory. The industrial complexes. Now, this industrial complex is a 3, which means it's a minor one. So not only will these Chinese have to eliminate all these units, but then they have to still attack this industrial complex and hit it 3 times, making it null and void, and making Korea unable to spawn in any more troops. So even though you take out all these units, if the industrial complex is still available and still has a number, Korea can still put units on this country even though it is contested by the Chinese. So I hope that makes sense. And I know if I continue going on, I'll just make it more confusing. But in the Vietnam campaign that Sam and I did down there, once that video is up, you can kind of see this rule in action. It's a lot easier to explain once you actually do it instead of just talking about it. So that is basically it. Now that we have everything here covered, we can now start doing the wars. Obviously, we started with Vietnam, and the other wars I already have planned is a Korean war, still working on it though, and the Middle East. Because the Middle East, with the addition of the oil chips, looks like to be a really fun campaign. I'm thinking I might want to do something with South America just because I can. So basically, I'm just trying to do as many proxy wars, as you might want to call it, before I end it by doing a huge World War III game involving all the remaining nations that have survived all the proxy wars that we can think of. But now obviously we need to take alliances into account. So America, France, Britain, Germany, I think Italy, Spain, all those guys are allies. Now obviously we have Russia, Vietnam, Korea, China, all the communists. So this game board is more set up towards modern day with, allies, communists, all that stuff. So that ultimately depicts on what we do. But for countries like South America or even Australia, although Australia is kind of with us too, we can do whatever we want with this board. There are no rules or restrictions holding us down for what we can do, except for the scenario that's going to start World War III. That is going to be saved till the end. And I'm still debating on how I'm going to start World War III. I have a couple ideas, but it really all depends on how this game board works out. So that is all I got to explain for you guys. I hope you guys are looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to this. It is hard finding time to play this game with, the work getting in the way, and then I have my Minecraft Disneyland over on the server. That is a priority as well. And, with the work, I'm working a lot more because of my plans to move to Florida So I have a lot going on in my life right now. So yeah, leave a like if you guys enjoyed, or leave a like if you are looking forward to this game and seeing how things turn out, and subscribe so that you can watch these events unfold. Alright, that is all I got for you guys today, and I will see you guys in the next one.